Hi, everyone. My name is Benjamin Reber. I'm a senior data engineer at Deloitte. I have a beautiful wife, 2 German shepherds, 2 cats, and I am a transgender man. Another wise Benjamin once said that when you are finished changing, you are finished. And I'd like to preface this conversation with the fact that today I'm going to be talking about my journey and my experiences, but everyone has a different journey, and my experiences are in no way representative of everyone's. So, a brief background on me is that I view my transition as less so of an internal turmoil and change, and more so of an effort to change the world around me to match the one within me. I know that a lot of people wonder why somebody would ever want to go through the habit of having to change, or why they feel they need to, which is a fair question to ask. In my opinion, I probably could have lived forever in the body I was born in, and would have been perfectly fine. I never would have been as happy or authentic or comfortable in my skin as I am now, but I probably would have turned out okay. So it always begs the question of why bother, and is it worth it? And those 2 questions, I promise you, plague the lives of trans folks everywhere. Now, some actual background on me. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which has an exceptionally high concentration of people who identify as Roman Catholic. Now, Roman Catholic is a subsector of Catholicism that is more conservative, and my grandparents went through Catholic school all the way through high school. They raised my parents Catholic, and my parents raised my sister and me Catholic. In general, Catholicism is known for its antiquated view on love and acceptance, among many other things. So imagine how enthusiastic I was when in 5th grade I had a crush on a girl and I had to tell my parents. Shocker, I didn't tell them. But in that decision, I found my ability to compartmentalize my life. I had 2 different ones going on. At home, I could be private and quiet and keep the peace along the house. But with my friends or when I'm alone, I could be my happy, fun, gay self. The problem with that is the more I got to be alone, or more myself, the happier I got. And eventually, those feelings of happiness grew so much that I convinced myself to tell my parents. When I told them, they said it was just a phase and that I would grow out of it. And unfortunately for them, that phase continued through high school, where I came out 2 more times before we as a family decided it's better we just not talk about it. And that was fine until senior prom rolled around and I begged my mom to let me wear a tux. She kept asking questions like, why can't you be more like a girl, or wear girl clothes and wear a dress? And the questions always bothered me, but I never understood why. I could never grasp why my mom would want me to be something other than what I wanted to be. Now, thankfully, I won that conversation, and I got to wear a tux to prom my senior year in 2014. After that, though, I moved away to college, and that meant being on my own for the first time. But that also meant getting to be myself all the time as opposed to part-time. And it was in my freshman year when my girlfriend introduced me to my first trans friend, Connor. And at the time, I knew nothing about what it meant to be transgender. I was terrible with his pronouns. I asked him probably uncomfortable questions because I hate to answer them myself now. But I learned more about what it meant to be transgender from him. Before him, I had barely even heard the word. But I always wondered why someone would go through so much trouble just to change their name or be called something different. Obviously, the longer I got to know Connor, the more I learned it was more than that. Now, looking back, it's easy to see that I was always trans. I mean, when I was young, I would go to sleep at night wondering if it's possible that tomorrow I wake up a boy. And it's a hard feeling to describe to someone who's never felt it, but the best way that I can put it is that the person inside my brain never matched the person in the mirror. When I saw myself in my brain, I had short hair and a voice like I do now. I also had a beard and abs, but I'm still working on that. I just thought it was normal, though, that they just didn't match. When my friends wanted to play princesses and Barbies, I volunteered to be the prince or play the G.I. Joe. And I jumped at any opportunity where I could play games like RuneScape, where I could build a male avatar and live my life completely in that world as a boy, and no one would know the difference. Now, my journey was not one of straight and then lesbian and then trans. It was pretty much a trans journey from start to present. Everything that I did because that's what I thought that I wanted to do, and not because I thought it was something that I should do. Moving on from that, I learned more about what it meant to be trans and my ability to understand the things that made me happy. The problem is, I never understood or had the support, vocabulary, or perspective to know what was going on at a young age. At some point, I got to a place in college where my then girlfriend, who introduced me to Connor, made me feel safe enough to explore these opportunities for myself and really try and figure out if I was trans. What started with a conversation with a couple of friends, my roommates, asking them to call me Benjamin, slowly turned into introducing myself as Benjamin to the people I trusted most. Now, at this point, I'm sure all of you have heard the saying, the only constant in life is change. But truly, at this point, I was living it. I was graduating college, I was moving, I was starting a new job, and I was living by 2 different names, which meant I constantly had to code switch depending on the people that I was around. Also, completely in the dark is my family, who I had compartmentalized completely out of what was going on. And I had almost all but forgotten until, at my graduation party, my mom looked at me and said, "I feel like you have a separate life that I'm not a part of." And she was right. I did. But I also wasn't ready to face the challenges that would come with coming out to them, and I was selfishly enjoying the things that I had built without her. Soon after, I graduated college, and I broke up with my then girlfriend. And it wasn't until my next relationship that I truly got to try out being Ben all the time. Now, although I met my girlfriend at work where I still identified as a woman, she never knew me as anything other than Benjamin. She pushed me to do the things that made me happy just because they made me happy. She gave me the courage that I needed to let the best parts of my life take over the other half, and in doing so gave me the strength to cut my hair after almost 24 years, even though I'd wanted to do it since I was 16. Now that was quite the ordeal, because as I remember it, I made the appointment to have a consult. I met the barber, who was a nice lady, and then we talked, I made the appointment, and I left. I knew immediately when I left I wasn't ready yet, but I was too afraid to disappoint the nice barber lady, so I had my girlfriend call and cancel the appointment for me. A week later, after a very long week of pep talks and scolding, I made the appointment again, and when the time came, I took 2 shots of tequila and had my best friend take me so I wouldn't chicken out. I was sitting in the chair, and I distinctly remember feeling my heart racing and wondering what my coworkers were going to say when I went to work tomorrow. I was also thinking, how long would it take to grow out if I hated it? But truthfully, when that first chop came, the only thing I felt was a wave of relief. I left that barbershop feeling better than I'd ever felt, feeling happier than I'd ever felt. And that moment defined the part where I started my transition. Now, it took me about 2.5 years to medically transition from that point, truthfully because I kept running into issues. First, I found a pituitary tumor in my brain. Once that was under control, I found another tumor on my thyroid. Once that was under control, I was told that in order to start testosterone, I would need to have a therapist sign a letter that said I wasn't crazy, just trans. I made my appointment February of 2020, and a week later, the world shut down. So fast forward 1.5 years, I've been living in my apartment with my girlfriend, 24/7, pretty much getting to live as Ben. At this point, when things started opening up again, I despised not getting to be Benjamin. I truly hated any moment I had to be somebody else. So I made my appointment to see my therapist, and after 6 months, she gave me my letter and medically cleared me to start testosterone. Now, once I took that to my endocrinologist, she was hesitant because I had a history of tumors, and we didn't know what kind of havoc it might wreak on my endocrine system. But after she told me to wait 3 separate times, I decided to just get a new doctor. And on December 1st, 2021, I got to start testosterone. That same day, I made an appointment for top surgery. And now top surgery, as anyone who doesn't know, is similar to a double mastectomy. However, they will rearrange the tissue a little bit to create a more masculine-looking pec. I also elected to have a free nipple graft, meaning they removed my nipple, downsized it, and then reattached it to give it a more masculine look. The hardest part of my transition, in general, looking back, was coming out as in a professional manner. But at this point, I was starting testosterone, meaning my voice was going to change. I thought I was going to grow facial hair. And I was surely something to notice when I had top surgery, so the time had come that I needed to come out. But it was a little bit nerve-wracking, because up until 2020 in Florida, it was still legal to be fired for being gay, because sexual orientation wasn't covered as a protected class in the Constitution. And even after that, now, Florida is still considered what is called an at-will employment state, meaning that you can quit or be fired for any reason or no reason at all. But I took a chance and I came out to my manager. Thankfully, he gave me not only people to contact, but resources that my company gave to help gender affirmation. He helped me come out to the rest of my team, and I was met with an overwhelming amount of support and encouragement and pride in my ability to be authentic. So much so that my company allowed me to take 6 weeks off in March of last year to recover from top surgery. If you're squeamish, I recommend you look away. Sorry, I forgot to do that. On the left, that is coming out of surgery, and the pictures in the middle, that is 1, 2, 3, and 4 weeks post-op. And all the way to the right here is about 3 days after my surgery in my Airbnb with my drains. I got my drains removed about a week after my surgery happened, and then was able to move on to just taking care of my scars. As I stand here today, I'm approximately 11 months, 360 days post-op, little shy of 1 year. As I said before, I'm going to take this off now. As I said before, one of the hardest parts of my journey was coming out professionally. But truthfully, the hardest part was constantly being faced with 2 questions. Why bother, and is it worth it? When I kept finding medical challenges, I was like, why bother? Is it worth it for me to potentially risk my long-term health? When my family borderline didn't accept me because I was trans, why bother? Is it worth not having a family? And talk about a sign. When the world shuts down for 2 years, why bother? Is it worth it if I can just continue to live 2 separate lives? Well, thankfully, I had friends that supported me and encouraged me and told me not only is it worth it, but that I deserve to live my truth. And I'm so glad that they did, because in last October, I got to marry the woman who pushed me to cut my hair, and I did so in the body that I built to match the one that I had always known. And I got to do so wearing a tux for only the, 3rd time since prom 2014, and the 1st time medically transitioned. Note the cool wife and the German Shepherds. Now, as I said at the beginning, my journey was not one of internal change and discovery, and that still plagues some people in my life. Truthfully, I'm still the same person I was before I started the external transformation. My favorite color is still blue, I still love football, I'm still a data engineer. Who I am has always been trans, but my journey to Benjamin was more about giving the people around me the words to live on the outside the way that I've always lived on the inside. I can't say that I would do it the exact same way every time, if given the chance, or that it was easy, but I'm glad that it happened. It meant that I stopped letting time go by being someone other than myself. And truthfully, the reason why I agreed to give this talk today is because I want to make sure that as I continue to learn every day about myself and how to help others, that I can help you guys be more compassionate and caring allies to the LGBTQ+ community. And not only that, but allow you guys to teach other people that it's okay to be their authentic selves. Because honestly, that kind of effort can make a continuous change in the world around us, and it is our world to change, and it is never finished. Thank you.